Well, good morning from Upper Hutt, New Zealand. It's a very chilly day today. We actually had a frost this morning, a spring frost. And I'm doing a bit of Sunday morning car unwitnessing, and I've kind of done a bit of a stuff up this morning, really. I've got my sign taped onto the outside of my windscreen, and I totally stuffed up with it, really. I wrote it on the plastic the correct way round and planned to tape it to the inside of my windscreen, but I couldn't get it to fit. And I'll just put the camera here so we capture cars going past. I couldn't get it to fit, so I decided to put it on the outside, but then it started raining, and as I used chalk paint, or no, not chalk paint, liquid chalk it's called, I had to cover it with another sheet of plastic so that it wouldn't run in the rain. Anyway, I pulled up outside the Kingdom Hall and got my sign taped quite well to the front windscreen on the outside, and then I thought I'd move my car to a slightly better position, and when I turned my car on, my windscreen wipers started, didn't they? I hadn't turned them off, so it totally mucked up my sign. It sort of went all over the place and got quite smudged. You can still read it, but my car isn't in the ideal position, really, and people are starting to leave the meeting already. So I think I'll just stay where I am. And I actually have the jw.facts sign on my roof. It says the real truth, jw.facts. So that's on the roof. So anyway, I'm here doing my thing. It's been a bit of a blah week, really. Something the other day sort of got to me a bit. I was looking on our Upper Hutt community Facebook page, and I noticed a post there from someone who used to be a good friend of mine, probably the person I was closest to, actually, in the congregation here in the last few years that I was a member. And she had made a post about her cat. Her cat had gone missing, and had been missing for quite a while, like more than a week. And it finally arrived home, a bit worse for wear, but alive. And she had gone out of her way in her neighbourhood looking for the cat, and it seems from the comments that she got on her post that she spoke to a good number of people in the neighbourhood about her cat. And so she would have gone to quite some lengths to find her cat, and probably didn't just go to the immediate neighbourhood, but probably further afield as well, judging by the locations of some of the people that commented on her post. But it really got to me, because I thought, my goodness, you're prepared to go so out of your way for your pet, but what about me? I was your friend. I was a good friend, and I did things for you. I helped you out. I helped nurse your mother in the last few months of her life. I shared personal things with you. And what happened when I told you through a letter that there were some some teachings I wasn't happy with, that disturbed my conscience, and that I felt that affected you? And look here, I feel like I'm talking to her. Oh. Anyway, yeah. Anyway, did she, this former friend of mine, did she come searching for me? I mean, I gave her a copy of the letter that I sent to the governing body, asking for some clarification, sort of, on their teachings, after the new teaching came in about the faithful and discreet slave being only the governing body. And there were some things that didn't make sense, mainly to do with the governing body not having all authority yet. And I thought, well, if the governing body has not been authorised over all the master's belongings yet, then how can they say that all other professed Christians are false and condemned and rejected by God? Because if they hadn't been approved yet, then say if they failed, then there'd be no one else to replace them if all others had been condemned. You know, it didn't make sense. Anyway, so I wrote this letter, and then because I trusted this woman, and I thought she knew me well, she knew what kind of person I was, and I trusted her. I trusted her with this information, mainly because I wasn't sure. You know, I knew it was on dodgy ground, because you're just not allowed to question the governing body. You've got to think of everything they say is coming from God, so to question them is like questioning God. But I know they're just imperfect men, and maybe they are doing their best. I don't know. They certainly don't seem to mind about a lot of people being hurt. But anyway, I gave her this letter, and I think she texted me back. I can't remember exactly what was in the text, but it was probably long. And the only other time I heard from her was at the Kingdom Hall the night they announced that I was no longer one of Jehovah's Witnesses, and my daughter and I were sitting right up the front in the middle, because I wanted to eyeball the brother who was going to do it, going to announce it. And just before he did, my phone went. Of course I couldn't look at my phone in the middle of the meeting, but after, when I left, it was from her. It was a message from her. She just wanted to get something in before I was no longer one of Jehovah's Witnesses and she wouldn't be talking to me anymore. So, it's absurd, isn't it? This lady is such a kind and loving person. When we used to go out in the ministry, if she'd meet someone who was having a particularly rough time or very depressed, sometimes, I recall one occasion, and I don't think I was with her on this occasion, but someone else told me, she went and bought a bouquet of flowers for this person and took it back to this householder. Loving and giving to a fault. But, you know, you have to ask, what kind of Christianity, what kind of religion is it that will make a person who is by nature kind and caring turn so cold on a friend? It's just crazy. And they say they're not brainwashed. It makes people act irrationally. I mean, this lady knew me for 20 years. She knew what kind of person I am, and I still am. And if anything, I'd say I'm a better person because I acted on my troubled conscience, because it was troubled. I wasn't prepared to condemn all other Christians, calling them rejected by God and bundled up, ready for the fire. I wasn't prepared to say that, but this is what Jehovah's Witnesses are forced to believe and teach. I wonder how many of them actually do believe that. Because I told this friend of mine, you know, because for about 6 months, I looked after her mother, who was dying of cancer, and she had kind of like Alzheimer's, and it was hard work looking after her. And I didn't do it because I got paid a very small amount. I didn't do it for the money. I did it because I loved my friend, and I could see how much she cared for her mother who wasn't a witness. And I used to listen to my friend talk to her mother sometimes, because of her dementia. She was very unsettled and worried all the time. And my friend used to comfort her by telling her about what the paradise would be like. And she'd tell her mum about, oh, won't it be wonderful when you can ride your horse along the beach and your long hair will be flowing out behind you. It'll be beautiful. And I would be in the other room listening, and I'd be in tears because it was so beautiful, I thought. And she was comforting her mother with this hope of future life, of a resurrection into a paradise. And no doubt she drew comfort from that too. But the teaching that the governing body brought out, talking about the weeds, from 1914 onwards, all those members of Christendom, like my friend's mother, were judged as weeds. They were rejected as weeds. And bundled up for the fire. Now, if you add 2 and 2 together, which most witnesses just don't seem to be capable of doing, they don't take things to their logical conclusions. But if you look at this teaching, it's pretty much saying that people in Christendom and the churches cannot expect to be resurrected. That's what it seems to imply. If the governing body changed the teaching about the sheep and the goats, saying that we can't call anyone a goat in the last days because it implies that they won't be resurrected, then the same thing should apply here. Anyway, I felt that this change in teaching had huge implications. And for my friend whose mother was a member of Christendom, I mean, she died 10 years ago. Gee, was it that long? Shoot. Then, will she be resurrected or not? And anyway, I don't know what my friend thought of it. She never really responded. She hasn't spoken to me since that text right before my announcement. So she will virtually give her life to save a pet. But she didn't really do anything for me. And I don't blame her entirely. It's this organisation that twists people's minds, twists their thinking, twists their priorities, and turns them into, I don't know, I don't believe that they're like all cold and like ice inside, but either it's fear of the governing body, fear that if they don't obey the governing body, that they're by extension not obeying Christ and God and will miss out their opportunity of having everlasting life. So it's fear and maybe a little bit of selfishness, wanting to not risk their own chance of living forever in a paradise on earth. I don't know, but it's very sad when they turn their backs on other human beings. And this lady, she sure does love her animals. But anyway, sorry about this long rant, but when I saw this post on the Facebook group, local community group, it made me feel hurt, and it's just the hypocrisy of it. And then all these people she got lots and lots of comments from people, oh, they're so happy that she found her cat, all lovely. And I said something a little bit snarky, a tiny bit bitchy, but I wasn't in the mood that day. I wasn't in a good mood, and I just said it's ironic that basically asking where was the love for me, and she was shunning me, etc., etc. And of course, quite a number of people took exception to my comments. And one woman commented, she said, "I'm speechless." And at first I thought she was speechless about the shunning, because most people think it's terrible. But no, the reason she was speechless is because I would bring this up on that group, which sure it wasn't really appropriate, but that I would bring this up and how really offensive it was. And a few others were commenting along the same lines. And I mean, I do have a fairly thick skin. I mean, I did anticipate that complaints might be made to the moderator of the group. I deleted my comments, or most of them. I made about 4 in total, but the last 2 were just like a sentence. And I heard from the moderator, and to my surprise, she was asking me if I was okay. And she said that if anyone attacks me verbally on the group, to let her know, and she'll deal with it. And then she also sent another message and said that, and I voluntarily got rid of my comments before I heard from her, from the moderator, but she said that she knew all about shunning because she came from a family of very strict Jews, and when she met her Christian husband, and she, fell in love with a Christian, married him, and she became Christian back in the 1970s, she was completely shunned by her Jewish family, and the result is that her side of the family do not even know her children or grandchildren. So she understood shunning, and she's tried speaking out before and found herself torn to shreds. So she was very kindly warning me, saying, they'll tear you to pieces on there, they'll shred you to bits, and don't resort to being like them. So I'm sure my former friend who posted on Facebook was thinking, scoring points for Jehovah's Witnesses and 0 for apostates. She's probably having a little celebration. And I don't know where all these complaints came from. They might have been from other witnesses for all I know. But no, my dear friend. The moderator gave me very kind, supportive messages, and she dislikes people who do what you do. Well, not the people, she dislikes the practices that you carry out just as much as I do, and I had her sympathies. So anyway, I think this video is long enough, although I'm just capturing people driving past in their cars. I hope they don't see my camera, my phone. It's taped to my window there. I'm up to 18 minutes now. Yeah, so today's video is a little bit different to my normal, isn't it? I hope my sign is readable for the angle that I'm parked. It's not the best angle. My sign is not, I try not to do nasty signs. I do thought-provoking signs, and at least, as much as I'd like witnesses to actually take notice of them, I know also Bible students and those that are very new who aren't baptised yet are coming along to the meetings, and if they've got any brains, they will be doing what the Watchtower from a week or 2 ago said, get all the facts. Have you got all the facts? You need to look at both sides of the story. You can't get the whole truth just by looking at jw.org. You need to find out from other sources, because we know that witnesses aren't going to initially teach students about shunning, and they don't even, I think most of them, unless they have been disfellowshipped, really understand what it's like to be rejected by your family. And fortunately I don't either, because I didn't have any family baptised in there, so that's good. Anyway, I think I will finish this video here. It's coming up to 20 minutes, and I will talk again next time. Bye bye.